My name is RG, and today we're going to be looking at the changes Epic Games have made to Season 7 and deciding what needs to be done to stop this season from being a total disaster. Now, the last few seasons of Fortnite have gotten progressively more controversial with the fanbase. You had the spam meta of Season 5, the Fortnite Mares event of Season 6, and now there is the plane and sword meta of Season 7. When you have such a large, passionate fanbase like Fortnite does, it's inevitable that a change is made to the game will lead to a lot of people getting angry, as everyone has a different perspective and that's just the nature of opinions. And that's fine. Just look at the introduction of Glider Redeploy. For every person who loved it and said it made the game way more fast-paced and enjoyable, there was another who said it was game-breaking and made it unplayable. So it's not easy to appease such a large fanbase, and I completely appreciate how much of a difficult position Epic Games are in. However, over the last few seasons, it seems Epic Games are trying harder and harder to innovate the game, but changing it to a point where it's completely unrecognisable. Epic Games should be applauded for constantly looking to improve the game. It's why it ended up being the biggest game in the world and one of the biggest games of all time. However, you don't remain the biggest game in the world by constantly changing it. You keep it popular by improving it. And just because you've changed the game does not necessarily mean that it's better. It just means it's different. And if it has changed, then the game's not what brought people to it initially, which is why you run the risk of alienating a large portion of your player base. Season 5 was, in my opinion, by far the worst season of Fortnite, due to Epic introducing many features intended to counter the effectiveness of defensive building, which we've seen ever since turbo building was added to the game. However, they went about this completely the wrong way by weakening builds, buffing SMGs, and adding a number of overpowered SMGs such as the P90 and the drum gun. This led to the infamous spam meta of Season 5, which was so frustrating to play against, and only rewarded less skilled players. Thankfully, Epic listened to the players and reduced the effectiveness of SMGs, vaulted the drum gun, and buffed structures, which made the game playable again. However, this wasn't the last time Epic caused outrage in the player base, with the introduction of the Fortnite Mares event in Season 6, which lasted many weeks. This event saw zombies added to the map that would chase you, and the player base was stunned to see it added to the main playlist, instead of it in an LTM. They did reduce the amount of zombies that would spawn, but for many, that wasn't enough. And now, with the addition of planes and the brand new Infinity Blade, Epic Games have gone one step further. With these new additions, this might be the most controversial period in Fortnite history, which is saying a lot. So what exactly is the issue with planes, and how do we improve them? Well, let's jump straight into it. Number 1. People can crash into structures and their planes won't blow up or receive a lot of damage, which is ridiculous. There should be some punishment for doing this, as players flying into your builds and knocking you down has been a major issue since they were introduced. Number 2. Planes can run into players and massively damage you, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is the most incredibly annoying aspect in my opinion and needs to be stopped. This isn't something that can easily be fixed though, and my only realistic way of combating this would be to add something like a bouncer to the front of the plane, which would merely bounce you away instead of almost killing you. Number 3. There's no downside to using a plane right now. If they blow up, the players take only 25 damage, which really is nothing at all. Also, players can dive down quickly, meaning they can easily avoid enemy shots. So this needs changing. There needs to be risk from using planes, and I would suggest increasing explosion damage to at least 50 or 75. And once you jump from the plane, it isn't possible to dive anymore, so you have to glide down instead. Therefore, there would actually be an element of risk when using a plane, instead of it being merely a free rotation and easy kills. Number 4. There's nothing stopping people being able to fly in planes all game until the end of the match, which makes it easy for high placed finishes and wins. This is particularly problematic in competitive modes and tournaments, as it completely takes away the skill from rotating to the circle, as anyone can easily get in a plane and fly high in the sky until almost everyone has been killed. People can shoot at you, yes, but if the planes are at the sky limit, it can be difficult and will completely give away your position, and you're likely to be killed by enemy players on the ground. However, combating this issue is actually really easy. All it takes is for there to be a fuel limit for each plane, and suddenly players have to be tactical in their use of it. Planes aren't all bad, in fact they're a lot of fun. They've added a completely different dynamic to the game, and especially in duos and squads, they've made for a lot of exciting fights against enemies in their planes. I mean, is there anything more satisfying than hijacking an enemy's plane and killing them? I'm not so sure. However, not balancing them correctly at all is without doubt one of the worst mistakes that Epic Games have made in the past year. Now that we've discussed the planes, it's time to get into Fortnite's newest game-breaking addition, the Infinity Sword. Now when the sword was teased, I was initially very excited. I've been interested in seeing how melee weapons would work in Fortnite for some time. The general consensus was that the sword would only be available in an LTM, as it would be overpowered, which made sense. But no, that would be too logical and straightforward for Epic Games, and they added it to the main game, and it was even stronger than everyone thought it would be. Those who went to Polar Peak and picked up the sword were granted a number of unique abilities in exchange for dropping all of their items. Firstly, they received an extra 100 health and shield, making it difficult for anyone to kill you with it. and those who held the sword also saw their health steadily increase over time. Each elimination with the sword granted an extra 50 health or shield. In the Winter Royale's first 2 heats, it granted an extra 100, which is a staggeringly high amount. Not only that, but the sword deals 75 damage per blow, can destroy any build in one swing, increases the player's speed, and allows for players to avoid fall damage. Thank God you couldn't build with the weapon though. Oh wait, you could. What on earth were they thinking? I do actually like the idea of the Infinity Sword. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings in the way that it's an incredibly powerful item and everyone's willing to fight for it. But why have they added it to the main game? This isn't Fortnite. This is a different game completely. And what makes it worse is that they decided that the right time to add it was merely a few hours away from a major competition, so players had almost no time at all to practice, prepare for what turned out to be a meta-defining addition to the game. Don't get me wrong, it was fun watching the sword in action. I really like the idea of Epic doing a one-off tournament where all the best players in the world fight it out to get the sword, and be the last one standing. But you've got to tell the players in advance. These players have been practicing for up to 14 hours a day for months, just for Epic to completely change the game a few hours before one of the biggest days of these players' lives, with a life-changing amount of money on the line. Unsurprisingly, it ended up with the Infinity Sword completely dominating the tournament, with the person that wielded the weapon almost always winning and annihilating everyone in their path, which meant most of the time these pros spent practicing was for nothing. After the first 2 heats, there was a lot of anger all over the community, especially from pro players, with many tweeting their thoughts. For example, Ghost Bizzle said, "Can't believe I've put my full time into Fortnite and they pulled 2 updates for a major tournament. Huge loss of respect for Fortnite. I don't care what I've made in the past. A fucking sword? Airplanes that don't shoot each other and target players without them?" Then there was Liquid Perch who said, $500,000 tournament on completely new meta with literally 5 hours of practice is so Resident Sleeper. I really hope Epic doesn't keep going down this path. TSM Daquan said, "People asking my opinion on Winter Skirmish? So imagine putting in thousands of hours and finally getting your chance to shine, just to get shit on by a random sword implementation? People who complained that the double pump was OP had no idea what overpowered meant. Now you do." And my personal favourite moment came from 14-year-old pro player Mongrel, and he had this to say.
"Why the fuck is there a sword in this game? Are you fucking serious? Why the fuck is Thanos in the game? Sing, 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 sing! Why is that in the game? Sing, sing! I wasted like 700 mats on that kid. He didn't get shot once. He's flying around the fucking map with his shitty sword. He's fucking sing, sing, sing! Bro, around this whole map. He's not dead. He didn't have any mats for like 5 minutes. He's running around with his sword, teleporting in different directions. Are you telling me that there's an item in the game that lets you teleport instantly and hit you for 75? Okay, yeah.
So I think it's fair to say that people were mad, and rightly so. Once again, Epic Games could have stopped all of this controversy by making the sword part of an LTM, like they should have done with Fortnitemares. I said in my Fortnitemares video that it was just like if they'd added Thanos to the regular playlists, but this was basically an overpowered version, as you could build, and they've put in a competitive tournament. The most worrying thing is that this clearly shows that Epic Games aren't learning from the mistakes. They should have learned not to mess with the core mechanics of the game in the main playlists, but instead, they've doubled down on it and gone a step further. If they don't learn from this, then I don't think they ever will. But I'm optimistic. Epic have shown that they do listen on a number of occasions. They do have the players' best interests at heart. It's about time they stop messing with the fundamentals of the game, as if they keep doing this, the players will leave, and they won't have anyone to annoy anymore. This has been a bit more of a ranty video than usual, but I hope you appreciate it. I'd literally made a video about how I thought this was going to be the best season yet, but I had to scrap it because of all this rubbish. So maybe that's why I'm extra salty. So, what do you make of Season 7? Do you think it's going in the right direction? What changes would you make? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more. And I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.